quite like her outfit. It's a bit more one of the more practical ones compared to some of the other ladies you see in TESL, isn't it? Again, when I first started playing, she was played a fair bit outside of Invade, so in fact you don't see her often in Invade decks. Well, I don't anyway. But that's a really lovely premium. The placing of the light actually enhances her face, so she actually looks more defined than in the original. They're both pretty good. But I used to mainly see her in like mage decks, at least when I first started playing. This is quite a fun one. Again, I used to play it in transmogrified decks. The art's not particularly exciting though, is it? The snow effect's okay, but it's just not that exciting overall, is it? You never see Court Wizard played at all. The art's alright, it's nothing to write home about, is it? And that's okay, but it's not anything special. They're both about the same, I'd say. In terms of... yeah, I think they're both pretty boring, to be honest. Now this does sometimes get played with in like mono blues, but not often. The art's okay, nothing exciting. I mean, that's a bit of an improvement. The flame effect's quite good, isn't it? At least it's not really obscuring much of her body. I mean, there's not... the art is not great. I don't like the colour scheme on it really, but it does actually convey people being exhausted and stuff. Maybe needing a reset. That's quite relaxing to look at, isn't it? But I prefer this one. He looks like he means business, doesn't he? Now, I think Aros uses doppelganger sometimes in his Nixox decks. Oh, he used to, I don't know if he still does. I think he used to run it in there, but you don't really see it. Well, there's certain decks you see it in, but I haven't seen it on ladder for a while. Not a great fan of the art of this, but it is a very fun card for people running item decks. I suppose it does look a little bit more defined, the art in this version, so that's a bit better than the standard. This is okay. Again, nothing exciting to write home about, is it? The premiums a bit nicer. You've got the bottles a bit more lit up and there's a bit of movement. So I'd say that is an improvement. It's a pity this lady has such poor health, even though with the ward she's got the ward, but it's not much of a mitigation, is it really? Because the art in it's really nice. She definitely stands out more against the effects on the premium version. You can see her face And the hair just looks that little bit more defined. And even her clothes are moving a little bit as well, so I really like that one. Root Bender, I tend to associate Root Bender partly with market decks, that's a negative association, but partly with Rampant Rufus playing his Root Bender deck. It's like a move assassin deck, which has been very successful for him, so I tend to think of that when I see Root Bender. I think I prefer the standard art version because the effect actually kind of obscures the art on him a bit, really. It's a bit distracting. Oh, I do like Imbued Breton in my Consume Assassin deck. That's good fun to play. That art's alright, the base art's fine. But this is quite lovely, isn't it? I could stare at that for ages, which is probably not a good idea if I do, because otherwise I'm going to go into a trance. There's nothing wrong going into a trance, by the way. It's very relaxing, and it's a natural state that we all go in and out of throughout the day. However, I won't get very far recording card art if I end up in a trance, will I? But I do like that premium, very lovely visual effect. Insightful Scholar. Nothing too exciting going on here. It's okay, it's nothing thrilling. They don't want the best they can with it, really, I suppose. Maybe she does actually, not to focus on the background, she does look a bit more defined in the front part of the card. Hexmage, again, she used to be played a lot when I first started. I used to see her loads in mage decks. Quite nice art there. She looks very serious, doesn't she? However, this is another example of when the actual effect in the background does make the art stand out more. It looks like she's about to jump out of the laptop at me because she stands out so much. That's really lovely. Huge improvement on... I mean, the main one, the base standard card is still lovely, but that's a huge improvement. I quite like this card in when playing it in Arena. It's quite a fun card. There's not a lot going on in the premiums there. Memory Wraith, some people claim it's a bad card, but I like the fact that it completely clears out a graveyard and stops the opponent from resummoning everything. I think I prefer the standard version actually here because it's a bit distracting seeing that movement. Very popular card for people who want to do a comeback late game by pairing it with something with drain and charge like Giant Bat. The art on it's okay. I think it looks more faded in the premium version. So I would say that the standard's a bit better because the art stands out more in it. This Git's a bit annoying, isn't he? I think he can deal 2 damage to face, not just to creatures as well, so it's particularly annoying. He looks a little git, doesn't he? Yeah. I was trying to prioritise killing him if he appears on a game, because otherwise he's going to hit your face as well as a creature. Nothing there, right? As I said before, I've tried to play them very unsuccessfully. I did come up against a very good blue deck that, mono intelligence deck that ran them. Either that or they just drew very well that day. Yeah, I'd say the effect that does make them stand out more against the background, so that's fair. That's actually quite a good quality one. Even though it's not the most exciting bit of art, is it? Now here's one which has got a lovely effect on the premium. The art's okay on it, but really, let's just have a look. That just makes it so much better. You've got the fire all around him and the smoke and everything. So it's just so much better to when you're sort of running this card, you kind of want to run it with. Obviously, if you can get discount on the actions, that helps. He's very, very fun card. I've played him in I think it's in one of my clearing the decks as a Renegade Magister sort of deck. Great fun. Never really played Soul Shred. I know occasionally it gets played on ladder. The art is okay. It's just not very. I mean, that's an improvement, I'd say. It's just not one of my favourites. This tends to be played mainly in arena. I'm not a great fan of the art. It looks pretty boring, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's better than the standard, but it's still not very exciting, is it? I do like items to have mobilised, but this is a bit expensive cost-wise for what it is. That is quite an attractive effect, though. Now, I really don't like Tharana at all. She's a horrible old hag in my book. However, I can't pretend she doesn't exist. She's an auto kill for me. If I've got the means to take her out, I will do as soon as I see her. But she is very useful for some people. I think the standard version's better because there's just more definition there. The effect's a little bit distracting, particularly over the front of her. Very although it's quite expensive, this card, it's quite a fun effect. Now, I love a good Skelly game, so I quite like this card. Very good way to sort of build the back of the board. I actually think, I mean, yeah, I think the standard version's better actually. Yeah, it's not anything special there. It's okay that art is nothing special. Yeah, there's not a huge amount going on here either, is there really? When you consider the difference in the cost between the normal card and the premium, it's quite shocking really. I mean, obviously things now available while the game's winding down. It's available for pretty much just one piece of gold and stuff. This is a real shame. They could have done something more with this card. Abner's always a very fun card to play. I've even seen him. I didn't realise for a long time that you'd actually use it to on the summon ability of an opponent's creature, and I only found that out when somebody used it to mummify a card in my hand by using Death Priest. Again, fairly subtle, this one. It's mainly the flames in the background, isn't it? Alfiq is pretty much an auto-included with a lot of... I can't imagine anyone not running it, really. It's such good value for what you get. And that is really very pretty, and when you get the flame attracts, it's just incredibly beautiful when they come out, because they're obviously branded under that sort of premium thing. So if it generates a fire attract, and it will put the lovely flame effects on that. It's a very, very good card, but also the premium is very useful and beautiful too. Not a great fan of the art on this. I think it's a bit on the insipid side. Yeah, it's quite an expensive card as well. There's not a lot going on there, so not much to say on it really. This one has a good line. You can't defeat me, and then a big hashtag appears. So I like the voice line on this. The art's all right. It comes into its own here though, because you have obviously one thing you can see. There's more definition in the picture from having effects applied to it, but also you get a very beautiful frost attract when the premium one is summoned. I like Tutor a lot. He's a great fun card. It's very rare that you see all three attracts out really soon afterwards though. It can involve a fair amount of digging in the deck. Yeah, that's a nice premium effect there. I slightly prefer that to the standard version. Now this, not really a great fan of the art here. That is a bit better. You can see that you've got the definition with the background against the mask. And this is one that doesn't get played a lot, but even the standard art's quite attractive. I suppose because it's 6 and it's a fairly... You could say it's like a manta stone that's also a body on the board, couldn't you? That is beautiful. On that version, I mean, obviously you've got the effects on there, but it looks like he's actually battling through a storm, which in turn makes you a bit more appreciative of the dragon's efforts. That's still pretty fine art though. I like the ambience of it, the dark and light used together to interplay over the dragon. It's just this is a little bit prettier. Fate Weaver you don't often see, well, I don't often see it. Maybe other people are playing more, but quite often prophecy decks don't really. Prophecy decks, often they don't get the value out of the prophecies because people quickly identify them as prophecy decks. They won't hit face until they're ready to go in for lethal. So she does get played a bit less. The art's okay. I think the standard version's better because that kind of obscures her outfit. Fingers, another card I associate with a Ross MPO. I know a lot of people run it, but he particularly runs it a lot as well. And so I've watched so many of his games and seen him pull out fingers and kind of stabilise and then start to fight back. So I tend to associate that with him. And look at that. That is beautiful. That definitely falls in the class of cards you can hypnotise yourself with. All you have to do is just stare at that for a while and you go into a nice relaxed state. I better stop staring at it, hadn't I, before I do go into any more of a relaxed state. I'm already quite sleepy because it's late at night. I like Glacial Dragon. Always makes me think of Banana Schwab friends who had a very good dragon battle mage deck. This used to feature highly in there. It was very good when it went off, and he'd be able to like shackle down like 2 lanes if he then brought out the fire dragon next. I prefer the standard art to the premium. Although that's at first glance a pretty effect, I think the dragon just stands out more and is more defined on the standard art version, whereas the visuals here detract from the art. Now this I do, Heirloom Greatsword, I do like it. I actually, back in the day, I actually did craft it, just one copy of it initially, because I liked the sense of fluidity and the movement in it. Also at that point I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with a different group from the one I'm playing with now, and one of my characters, we had to come up with ideas for what your character would look like. I thought this was a good basis for that character, so I actually would think of this card when I was describing my character in D&D. So I'm kind of fond of the card. And that's something, I mean, I like the other version, but it suddenly becomes a very moody sort of atmosphere when you've got the clouds moving in the background. I like them both equally for different reasons. I like that because it's quite moody looking. But then the sky looks a bit brighter, so I quite like that as well. Very, very useful card. Quite good art on it. And yes, that is quite a beautiful effect. So I do quite like High Spin Dragon, even though he's not often played. I mean, sometimes people get him off a Cool Dragon, don't they? I like the sense of movement in the card, and he's quite a useful shackle late game. I know he's quite an expensive card for the cost, so I do quite like that. And I prefer the standard version. I know that seems like heresy to say it, but although you've got the effect coming out of his mouth, I just think you can see the dragon itself better on the standard version, so I prefer it. Maybe I ought to do another Outcast deck, because this guy never gets played, so I could maybe stick him in there. Maybe I do a Giants and Ash Creatures type deck, maybe. I'll see if I get time before the game finishes. because this guy never gets any love. I think I prefer the standard art on that. I just find that effect a bit distracting, really. Now this card, when I first started playing TESL, I used to see it a fair bit, again, often in Mage. But then it seemed to hardly ever get played, but for the last couple of seasons on Ladder I have seen it a fair bit again, so that's nice to see it getting a bit of use in TESL's last days. Although I wasn't playing TESL when it first started out, I understand that sort of Mage was quite a popular deck to play in the early days. One of the stronger ones. And it's a very cool effect when it goes off if you can get an increasingly valuable Attuned on board. Obviously part of the problem is keeping it alive, but that is such a beautiful premium. That's definitely a hypnotic card. I daren't stare at it for too long, otherwise I'm going to end up in a trancey state. Which would be nice and relaxing, but then I wouldn't feel like talking, so and I need to get this video finished so I can move on to the next attribute. I do see Master of Arms played on Ladder. It's very satisfying when it goes off. There's a good sense of movement to this card. I'm not massively... I just think the art looks better on the standard version. There's nothing much exciting going on with the premium effects, is there? And here's an old art version. It's okay, but I think I prefer the standard in the normal version. Now I do like Star for Sparks. It's probably quite expensive for what it is card-wise. But one of my favourite moments was when I was having a mischievous... I was in a mischievous mood and I had a deadly Draugr and I had all these threats on the board and the opponent was playing and removing all these threats, and I had this little 1/1 deadly Draugr there, and they ignored it because they didn't think it was going to be able to do much. And then I equipped it with Staff of Sparks, and then they had a problem because it just took out their whole lane. And very funny moment. I do like the premium version more than the standard. It's very pretty. Stealer, now this tends to be a deck that every now and again it surfaces and people will go for it for a one-turn kill. And one of my favourite moments, going back, I think it's a couple of years now, Banana Schwab Friends was playing, I think it was a ladder rather than an event. He was playing against a Stealer deck, and this match was incredibly long. I think I started watching it partway through, and I think it must have gone to like over half an hour. This person just was like removing his board left, front, centre, and eventually they had this ginormous, absolutely ginormous Stealer of Secrets come out. But the thing was, they didn't have charge of it. And what happened, they must have felt really pleased themselves because this game had been going on for ages. They had this magnificently huge Stealer of Secrets on the board, and they were obviously thinking, right, they can kill him in one go with it next turn. And then he top-decked a belligerent giant. It was so funny. I was doubled over laughing, and he just tossed it back, and it was back to being a 1/1. To their credit, they did carry on fighting afterwards, and it was quite a long match. After that, he did eventually prevail, but it was a very funny moment. One of those moments you don't forget in TESL. I think I like both cards, but the premium is just quite atmospheric, so I'll go with that one for being better. This guy does occasionally get played. Personally, I think the idea of giving my opponent 2 cards at the same time as myself it's kind of like I'm subsidising them, so I wouldn't never play it. But I know I've had friends who do play it just purely for the draw, and they're not bothered about giving an opponent cards. That's definitely better. I think I quite like the orb effect on there, and there's a fire in the background. Is this a candidate for one of the most useless cards in the game? I'm not sure, but even the art on it's boring, isn't it? Even that version, there's not a huge amount going on. I suppose it's the colours on it are quite insipid, so it's never going to be something that massively appeals to me. Now, Telvos. Such a good card. I like the. He's quite polite, isn't he, when he's on the board? I quite like his outfit actually. It's one of the better outfits for the TESL guys, isn't it? But this is a thing of true beauty. If I get time, I'll try and do a top 10 of the most hypnotic cards in TESL. But that has to be on that list, surely. I mean, look at that. That is incredibly beautiful. And I'm very fond of Telvos because I was once in quite a long match against a market opponent, and literally I positioned him behind some guards and they just could not. They couldn't get the removal to get the ward off him, and I was able to, because I had giant bats in my deck as well. I think I was playing an assassin deck at the time. But I managed to keep Telvos alive and with the ward on, and it just really slowed their progress. And then I eventually got some giant bats, and then it was all over because I was able to gain health while also not losing a huge amount. And so I won that game. So he was not only is he really beautiful, but I've got fond memories of him from that game. He literally did save my life, didn't you, Telvos? Just stunningly beautiful, that card. Just gorgeous. This is a fun card. It can do some really funny things, particularly in transmogrified decks. When you've not got that many creatures anyway. Yeah, that's actually quite effective. He does look a lot more scary in that version, doesn't he? Path Mage, very beautiful card, particularly in the premium. Again, I tend to think of Avos MPO because I know he went through a phase where he was using Path Mage a lot in decks and that, and I remember seeing him pull off some spectacular wins playing that card. That is really beautiful, and it's not a card I've really played with myself, but I mean that is very, very hypnotic. So again, I think that would probably be a candidate for top 10 hypnotic TESL cards. I'll have to see if I can scrape the time together. It's difficult because I'm working long hours, and at the moment my priority is getting all the card art filmed so we've got it for posterity. I'd also like to try and do there's a couple of videos. I want to do a TESL philosophy one using some of the lines that cards use, and a TESL hypnotic cards, but whether I'll get time to do everything before the game closes, I don't know. It's incredibly tough on me trying to do these videos when I work long hours at the moment. But that is beautiful. Hannibal is great fun, but not often played. I'm obviously a sucker for this kind of effect, aren't I? Because I do think that's quite hypnotic as well. In fact, yeah. There might be quite a few of these cards. If I manage to get around to doing a top 10 hypnotic cards, there might be quite a few of these cards on the list. Great fun in a transmogrified deck. Fairly subtle, the premium version, isn't it? Now this again, I like the art on the standard. I mean, it is. I like. Obviously, I'm biased. It's got blues and little bit of aqua, and some purple hues to it as well. This is a thing of true beauty, isn't it? I mean, I don't often play this card myself because I've always had a tendency in all the 4 years that I've played TESL. I have a tendency to draw high, even if I've got a low curve on a deck. It'll come out back to front, so I tend to get the high cards early and the cheap cards late. But that is a thing of true beauty. If I didn't have to suffer from high hand syndrome, I would play that more often because it's beautiful. Really, really stunning. Just gaze lovingly on it a little bit longer, shall we? Now, some people say this card's not good value for what it is, but I absolutely love it. I love it because I play it in my Consumer Assassin, and this might be a bit childish of me, but I will wait whole games in order to combo this with Imbued Bosna, because in fact another fun moment that I had was when I was playing against a Ebon deck, and they had Dark Seducer on board, and I had Skeletal Mage, and I'd already got Imbued Bosna in the in the graveyard, and it hit Dark Seducer for like obviously it gets this one that gets lethal damage, doesn't it? So yeah, if you consume Imbued Bosna, you get +1/+1, and you get lethal. So he was able to take it out, and down it went like a treat. It was a wonderful moment. So I really enjoy pairing. Actually, I think I said it in the agility deck when I did the agility cards. Imbued Bosna's fantastic with this, and it's also fantastic with Alfiq. Nothing that exciting about the Spirit Life art, is there really? Even that effect's not that great. Yeah, it's a bit boring, really. Now, obviously, you want to generate this rather than offer an Alfiq rather than just draw one. Actually, I think it's a bit different from the one that you generate off an Alfiq. Isn't that that's a 7/5, so it's reversed, isn't it? But it's similar art. It's okay. It's nothing special. Some of the abstracts, I suppose it's not really classed in abstract. I always think of it in abstract, but it's not. It's a Daedra, isn't it? That's why it's not that great. I always think of it because it's similar sort of colours to the abstracts as being an abstract, but it's not. Now, this never gets played on ladder. I think I saw it once. The premium is very, very nice with the flame effect, but that's because I don't know, pyromaniac at heart, aren't I? So I just sit and gaze at the flames lovingly. So yeah, that is good. Transmog. Sorry, I'll just put that back up there while I talk. Very, very fun card. Playing a transmog free deck. I used to play a lot of Transmogrify with Rocks and friends. Used to play a heck lot of Transmogrify, which is really fun. In fact, one of my clanmates, Louis Vuitton friends, used to use Transmog as one of their main ladder decks a couple of years ago. They used to do very well on ladder with it. That is very that's beautiful, isn't it? Again, that might end up on the hypnotic card list. Maybe at this rate there needs to be more than the top 10 of them. That is very beautiful. Wisp Mother, very popular card for getting extra bodies out on board. And that is very, very pretty, isn't it? So I think the premium does easily... I like the art on it, but I think that just makes her... The effect in the back makes her stand out more in the foreground. Very beautiful. One of the most played cards in the game. Well, part of me, I'm torn between which version I prefer. I mean, that is quite relaxing to look at, isn't it? But I just think he stands out a little bit better on the standard. I almost feel I could have done a little bit more with him. Oh, I think I'm just going to say they're about equally good. Now this is fun. This is a very fun card. Very good way to take out your opponent's sort of lane. That's going to catch most creatures. Well, I prefer the standard art to the premium. I just think the effect on there's a little bit distracting. Now this is a pain in the butt when invade players play this card. Obviously it's a flesh column, so it's not going to look very attractive, is it? But it's a nuisance to remove. It's got just about the right amount of power to be able to take a lot of creatures out. And if it gets a buff, then even worse when you're trying to sort of, it basically shuts down a lane. The flame effect's good on it though. Shocking Wamasu, the type of card you tend to play more when you're a beginner. The art on it's okay. Nothing particularly exciting going on there. This card's mainly played in versus arena. Nothing particularly special on the art, it's okay. That is it's quite a pretty effect, but again, I think the art's actually better on the standard version because it just looks more defined. He looks a little bit more faded there. Laaneth. Now there is an alt art version of her that I don't own, but my friend Fierce Laughter's got a copy of it, so she's going to send me a copy, and I'll insert it into the video. Nice outfit she's got there, isn't it? Again, I think it looks a little bit more faded. Let's go back. Sometimes click off things too fast. She looks a little bit more faded there, so I think I do prefer the standard version on that. Okay, so Nakreem, I do think of Aros NPO when I see this card because I know he went through a phase where he actually experimented with it for quite a while. Not often played. He's the only person I've ever seen really play it for a sustained period of time while he was tinkering with it. The art's quite nice on the premium. It's just the background's a little bit faded on both of them, so it's not a favourite. Sothasil or God as people like to call him. Not a great fan of the art on it, but it's a phenomenally good card if you can get it to go off. It can be a real nuisance to get rid of. I actually think this is a case where the actual art, he just looks a bit more defined with the effect on there. I think as soon as I clicked on that, his face stood out more. And I think it depends on at what point you see the light pass over his face, but he just looks a bit more defined there. Just easier to see his face, so I think the premium wins out there. So I'm getting a bit hoarse with all the talking. It's quite hard doing these videos because it's like talking for a long period of time. Now, in terms of Daedra cards and Invade cards, as I said earlier, a lot of the art on the Invade cards is very, very ugly. I mean, this is not too bad. It's one of the better Invade cards in terms of art. And although I don't like Invade, that's quite a good effect on the sort of portal behind them, isn't it? I have played this guy, I think it was back when I was fairly new. I found him quite hard to keep a game going long enough to actually get any value out of him. And of course, with my tradition of drawing high, he used to come out with the deck backwards. He'd be there early, wouldn't he? So I tried playing him, but not for long. Yes, I think the effect here actually does enhance the art because his face jumps out more with the light immediately behind him. So that's a definite improvement. Very, very beautiful card, particularly when it's the premium. And of course she generates premium flame attracts as well, so they're incredibly beautiful. Yeah, that's another hypnotic one. I better not gaze at it for too long, otherwise I will stop talking. Very fun card. Whenever I've played him, he always hits the one thing on deck that on the board that that's the most least valued for me, but the least destructive for the opponent. So he's a bit naughty that way. I do like the premium version. He stands out more, doesn't he? So I think that one is a big improvement. And that wraps up our intelligence cards. Thank you for bearing with me while I sort of record this art. I'm trying to preserve it so that, ideally, what would happen if you're missing TESL, you can come back and look at the art, appreciate the beauty. I mean, if any of you, I'm trying to leave the art up on screen long enough that if any of you wanted to take a screen grab and make your own cards, that you can do. I think there might be some resources online where you can actually print the cards. Because I think one of my friends said they thought they'd seen a site where you can get TESL cards and print them, but I wouldn't want to link that here because I don't know what much about that site, so it's just something secondhand. If you're interested, investigate it. But I'm just trying to put everything up on screen for a decent amount of time, and then you can actually, if you want to take screen grabs of anything, you can do, or you could just of your favourites, or you might want to screenshot certain pages and then print your own copies if you've got a good colour printer. So I'm just trying to get through, but it's quite physically hard on me talking for this amount of time, because normally when I'm playing a game I might be stopping talking and concentrating on the game and then start talking again. So it's actually quite hard on me physically doing this, particularly after a long day at work. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me while I'm doing this project. I hope you're all enjoying TESL in its final days, and I always enjoy hearing about your favourite games on ladder or in casual, depending on where you prefer to play. And I always enjoy hearing what cards you're especially loving in the game as well. And if you've got a moment, then feel free to pop down in the comments what your favourite intelligence cards are. Other than that, it's time to say goodbye. It's getting late here, so I'll say a rather sleepy goodbye to you all, and until we meet again, may you walk on warm sands.